Hello beautiful creative friends, it's Belinda, and today I am sharing another new project for the Confessions of a Paper Addict design team with you. Today I'm using the Star Balloons cut file. That is an older cut file in the shop, but it is going to be absolutely perfect for documenting my son's 3rd birthday photo. And the collection that I'm using is from Boulevard. It's quite an old one. I've got a little mini collection pack that's been in my stash, which had some papers and some chipboard, and I think that was about it. So just to sort of round it out and give me some more embellishments, I did actually go online and purchase the digital embellishment packs, and then I've printed and cut some of those using my silhouette, and that is going to be all that I need for this layout, because the cut file is really going to be the standout feature to complement the photo. So while I've been chatting away, I've been preparing my background. I've taken my white cardstock, I've trimmed it down to about 11.5 inches square, and then this is a pattern paper from the little collection pack that I have. I love that it's got those really bold, sort of wonky looking stripes, and it brings in all of the colors of the collection, which I really like, because then it allows me to add a lot more to my embellishments and to my products that I'm using on the actual page. So I've taken that over to my sewing machine, and I've added some really messy stitching using a tealy colored thread. So to do this, I run it around 3 times, and as I'm going around, I sort of make sure to wiggle the paper a little bit just to give it a really sort of messy stitched border look. That's something that I really like for boy layouts, or for layouts that I'm creating of my son. It sort of captures a little bit of his personality. He is loud, he is fast, he is into everything. So having that sort of messy stitched border is really lends itself to capturing a bit of his personality on the page. So I used the offcut from the piece of white paper that I used for my print and cut embellishments to back my photo, and then I've chosen another paper from the collection to mount that photo onto. So this is actually the reverse side of one of the pattern papers that I backed the cut file with. I did use black to cut the cut file, and then I found some fairly I'm going to say neutral patterned papers. So they're subtle. The patterns on these papers are subtle. And as I've not really used Bella Boulevard products before, but one thing I did notice as I was going through the papers is that one side of each paper has like a really bold printed pattern on it, and the other side tends to have more of a neutral design to it. So the 2 words there, that happy and birthday, were die cut on my silhouette from the digital embellishment pack. And then the 3rd is from some thickers. I actually grabbed a whole bunch of these blue glitter thickers from Spotlight recently when they were on sale. I think I got them for about $4 or $5 a pack. And although I have a very, very healthy collection of thickers and alphabet stickers, I don't have a whole lot that lend themselves really well to my little boy layout. So those blue glitter ones I thought would be really great. So I've got quite a few packs of those. And on this layout, I'm just using it for the word, or for the 3rd, just to signify. I mean, you can tell that it's his 3rd birthday because there's 3 candles on the cake, but I just wanted to make it really clear and add that into the title. So you saw that I used a piece of chipboard to back my photo, and that just helps to give it a little bit of lift off the page without adding too much bulk. I am using some foam tape behind the balloons, so the actual strings are going to sit flat on the page while the balloons are going to be lifted up a little bit with this foam tape. That giant roll of foam tape I purchased from Bunnings, which is a hardware store here in Australia. I spend a little bit more to get the acid-free version, but even then it's still really economical compared to most other scrapbooking focused foam products. The downside though is that it can be a little bit tricky to get the backing off. It's actually a photo mounting tape, so it is super sticky, and the backing can be a little tricky to get off, but it's no big deal once I use my little pokey tool here to get that backing off, and then I'm going to pop that down on the page. Once I've done that, I'm going to bring in the rest of my elements and have a bit of a play around to see where I want things to go. So obviously the photo and the cut file are going to take up a huge amount of real estate on this layout, which doesn't leave me a lot of space for much else, particularly when you look at the size of the title. The title itself is actually quite big. So there's not going to be a lot of room for loads of stuff on this layout. There's not going to be any journaling on this layout because I do have a whole heap of other photos from his 3rd birthday that I will be documenting. I think I'm going to do maybe one other layout and then perhaps a little pocket page to go sandwich between the 2 layouts. So I wanted to add a little bit of dimension to the title as well. I'm using another foam product that I have. I have multiple sets of foam products in my stash, and they're all readily available to me right where I'm sitting. Some of them are thicker foam, others are thinner foam, and I just like that gives me the power to really add different depths, different layers of depth to my layouts. So for these ones, these are little foam dots, I believe. Couture Creations is the brand of them. They're very, very low profile, probably a little bit thicker than the chipboard that I've got behind the photo, but not much. I also like that they're little dots and I can cut them in half. And so when I'm using them on something like a title like this, it's really easy for me to fill in the space of those titles. Or the thinner spaces with those little foam circles rather than having to trim down that foam roll that you saw me using just before. I'm going to add a little bit of wet adhesive behind these thickers. The adhesive actually seems pretty strong on them. I'm not sure how old they are, but I have learned over time that it's better to add just a little bit of glue to things like this because the adhesive doesn't hold super well. Now I am showing you my little phone there just in case you think you're watching this and you're thinking, wow, these embellishments are really coming together really easily. It didn't. It very rarely does. In actual fact, what I had done is I had sort of played around with things quite a bit off camera and layered everything up where I thought I would want it to go, and then took a little photo. That serves 2 purposes. Number one, it allows me to spend a lot of time figuring out where I want things to go. If you've watched any of my older videos, you would know that the embellishment process can be quite lengthy and tedious for me because I'm very indecisive. So it allows me the time to do that without taking up too much of your precious time watching it on the video. So you get the gist of where things are going, but you're just not seeing me umming and ahhing and fussing around with placement and moving things about. So just a little bit of a glimpse of real life there for you. I'm also adding some foam to the birthday word, but you can see that I'm only adding it to the pieces that are going to be sitting off the photo. So the photo, because it's got the chipboard behind it, it does have that little bit of dimension already. So I don't want to add foam to the title that's going to be sitting on top of the photo. Otherwise it will be uneven. It will get a little bend in the middle, and I want it to sit nice and flat. So that's worked perfectly. You will have noticed that I did also add a little bit of wet adhesive behind each of those foam dots before I adhere them down to the page, and that's the same principle. I don't always do it, but with that title, because it was sitting against a few different layers with the circles sitting underneath, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to come unstuck and come loose and fall apart in the page protector once I'd adhered it down. So I'm creating really sort of 3, we can call them clusters. They are clusters. So I've got the little circles that have clustered there underneath the title. I'm adding some really cute little icons and die cut pieces to the right hand side of the photo. And then my final embellishment cluster is going to be on the top right hand side of the page, just filling in that little bit of white space there, because we could sort of look at it as the cut file, the photo, the title, all of that being one really large cluster. I wanted to create just something really small and subtle up in the top right, just to give a little bit of balance. I could quite easily have just left that as white space, and I think it would have looked equally as good, but I did have all of these little embellishments cut out and I wanted to get more of them on the page. So I'm repeating that element up the top there of the 3 circles layered together. The other thing that I was really mindful of when I was creating these embellishment clusters was making sure that I've got my colors balanced. So because I've got that really bold bright red that's down the bottom, I wanted to make sure that I had little pops of red in the other two embellishment clusters. And then thinking about that again, because I've got that glitter alphabet in the word third, that's the only place that appears. So to sort of bring the whole layout together, I'm grabbing some of these little asterisks, which is from that same thicker sheet, and I'm adding them to two of the clusters just to help to tie everything together and keep this eye, because it is quite a bold standout feature. It helps to keep the eye moving around. I'm finishing off with my absolute favorite little finishing touch with some Nuvo drops. I've used a black to again bring in the black that's the bold from the cut file, and also some of these translucent blue ones. And with that, that is the layout finish. We have some close-up photos coming in just a moment. I do hope that you have enjoyed watching this process video. I will leave it there for now and say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.